Nigeria in October launched Africa's first central bank digital currency, that's the CBDC. The E-naira was unveiled at State House by President Muhammadu Buhari on Monday, 25th October. The president said that it will increase remittances, foster cross-border trade, improve financial inclusion, and enable the government to make welfare payments more easily. Now, alongside innovation, he said the adoption of a CBDC could improve economic activities and increase Nigerian GDP by $29 billion over the next 10 years. Now, we'll also take a look at the Financial Bill 2021, which the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, said provided for new tariffs and levies in 2022 as the economy is now on a recovery path. Now, Mrs. Ahmed also added that a couple of reforms and amendments had been commended in the draft 2021 Finance Amendment Bill, saying that more will be introduced in the middle of 2022. Now, moving into the discussion for today, we have an economist, Dr. SAMSON GALADIMA Simon, as he joins us, on the show to, discuss this particular issue. Good morning. Welcome to Daybreak.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. So,
since the launch of the E-naira, can we say it is doing well?
Well, it has reached some milestones, but I think it's too early to say that it is actually doing well or not. It had some challenges. I remember the ratings were poor and they even pulled it down for some time. But so far, I think so good. 500 million was minted by the central bank when they were launching it on the 25th of October. And so far, almost 200 million, 188 million naira worth of transactions have taken place. And you have 34,000 transactions exactly, and it's downloaded across 160 countries. So I think these are actually good. Things are looking up. And if the E-naira continues on this trajectory, then I think it's likely going to achieve the goals, the milestones it is meant to achieve.
Can you shed more light on these milestones and how the E-naira profits the economy?
All right. The objective is for people to have more possibilities. The slogan is "Same Naira, more possibilities." So it's meant to enlarge the possibilities, things that maybe one couldn't do with the naira. The physical naira, people can now do with the E-naira, like boosting trade across borders. If I'm buying something, let's say from Ghana or from Cameroon now, because the person supplying me these things has the E-naira wallet, and I also have it, I can easily send money directly to him. I don't have to go through a third party, right? That's one thing. Then another thing is the remittances. One of the major sources of foreign exchange earnings in Nigeria is remittances from Nigerians living abroad. So these things, the E-naira is supposed to help Nigerians living abroad to easily send money in a seamless way. They don't have to go through all these international money transfer organizations. The costs, because they charge, this one they hardly charge anything, at least for the first 90 days. After 90 days anyway, the charges, regular banking charges will be applied, and so on and so forth. And even though I know that the E-naira has many possibilities, has promises, but for now, it's not everything that can be done. It has some limitations. Yes.
Okay, so what are these limitations currently?
All right. It's supposed to boost or promote financial inclusion. That means with your phone number, you can open, you can have an E-naira wallet, because it's through the wallet that you can access, use, and do any transaction with the E-naira. So people without BVN or NIN, you have different tiers that you can have access to the E-naira. You have tier O, which means that just with your phone number, you can access the E-naira, right? So for now, that feature may not be applicable. So you still have to go through the normal things. You need a BVN, you need to have your NIN, and so on and so forth. So this is one limitation. The another limitation is that since it's a relatively new platform, there are certain things that the body or the organization, both the central bank, that's the monetary authority now, and BITS, the company that brought the technology for the E-naira, might not have foreseen. I remember Obamacare, when they launched it, it had to crash. So there are certain unforeseen circumstances that may occur. So I want to believe the reason why they minted only 500 million was to see how the E-naira will behave, or how the trajectory is going to be. And if it's okay and they learn, is a learning curve, they learn from some of the challenges, some of the problems, then they can up their game, they can make it bigger than it is at the moment.
Okay, now looking at Nigeria's present, economic realities, one of the provisions, for the E-naira is the adoption of a CBDC that would improve economic activities and increase Nigerian GDP by $29 billion over the next 10 years. Do you think this is realistic for us?
I think it's realistic. You can actually boost economic activities using the E-naira. If you look at some of the things the E-naira brings to the table, it's going to boost trade, cross-border payments. If it's actually going to boost trade, then it's going to boost, components of GDP, apart from consumption, investment, and government spending. You talk about net export. So if it's going to boost that net export part of GDP, it will increase GDP. If it's going to increase consumption, then it will increase economic activity, investment, and government spending. So it's supposed to make it more seamless, it's supposed to make it more smooth for you to embark on any economic activity. So this ultimately will boost the economy of Nigeria. And mind you, the remittances also are equally important, and that will also help the naira. Probably the naira will appreciate in value because of this, because you need to have foreign reserves to defend the international value of the currency for central bank to do that. And sources, apart from selling our oil, right, and foreign investments, the third source of any foreign exchange is through remittances of Nigerians from abroad. So if this E-naira will help more Nigerians to send money home, it will definitely help the value of the naira.
Okay, now for it to do all that, it needs to be accepted by Nigerians first. Now, data actually indicates that the E-naira successfully completed 46.3 million naira worth of transactions in less than 2 weeks of its launch. But then, it also said that it signed up 488,000 E-naira wallets and 78,000 merchants globally. But Nigerian blockchain and cryptocurrency experts have actually suggested that it is still unattractive to users, despite, all the claims of excellent adoption rates. What's your take?
All right. Nigeria is one of the best, or is one of the biggest places for cryptocurrencies, particularly Bitcoin. And the reason why Bitcoin is so popular in Nigeria is because Nigerians are skeptical about Central Bank of Nigeria. The money we have in Nigeria is from Central Bank. Central Bank has monopoly of issuing currency within Nigeria. And anything that threatens the monetary authority, anything that reduces its powers, the Central Bank is not okay with it. And the Central Bank wants to stop cryptocurrencies. And they thought bringing E-naira will help. But in all honesty, they are not the same thing. They are not the same. So that's why it may not be as popular as it should be, because in cryptocurrency you have secrecy. Like what I mean by secrecy, you have anonymity. You can do transactions without anybody knowing that it's you that you understand. But for the E-naira, it's not like that. The central bank will know who is doing that.
So was that a wrong move, banning cryptocurrency?
It depends. I think for the central bank, in all honesty, I think having cryptocurrency, the popularity of cryptocurrency in Nigeria is threatening the entire existence of the central bank. So I think on the part of the central bank, it's not a bad move. But I think for the economy, for individuals, I think it may be bad because crypto, instead of just banning it, they should have maybe taxed it, asked people to pay taxes when using cryptocurrencies, and find a way to regulate it instead of just banning it outright ban. I think those are better options because no matter what you do, there are certain people that will never use the E-naira because the E-naira does not provide what cryptocurrency provides. I know cryptocurrency is not stable, it fluctuates. The E-naira does not. It is not like it doesn't fluctuate completely, but not at the extent at which Bitcoin, for example, fluctuates. It's totally unpredictable.
So can we say the E-naira cannot compete side by side with other cryptocurrencies around the world?
Yeah, they have certain things in common. Both of them are based on the digital ledger framework. They're both based on blockchain, right? And they have this cryptography that ensures that it reduces fraud, it reduces many illicit, no, not illicit, it reduces fraud and maybe cloning of the currency. These are some of the good things that both the E-naira, that's the central bank digital currency, and crypto have in common. But besides that, that important thing, it's not everybody that wants to know, particularly for people involved in illicit activities, right? They don't want people to know that they are the ones involved.
True.
So I know it may sound bad because it's mostly criminal and it's not good for any economy or any government or any authority to encourage criminal activity. But not only criminal activity, there are certain things. People like their privacy and they don't like the prying eyes of government or any authority. So that's the challenge that the E-naira will have. And besides that, some people feel like the naira is not a widely acceptable currency around the world, or like the digital currencies like cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is acceptable anywhere in the world. You can go to anywhere in the world and buy or sell whatever using crypto. You cannot do that with the E-naira. So there is no basis for comparison, though I know the ultimate objective of the E-naira is for you to ensure interchangeability with other central banks' digital currencies. If that can be achieved, I think that will help the E-naira probably to be on a par with other cryptocurrencies. But that's actually a long time for that to happen. It doesn't happen overnight. Besides, how many countries have actually floated CBDCs? It's going to take time. It's not something you do overnight. And Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies are already providing that. So that's a challenge.
So could you talk to us about, the risks associated with the E-naira?
All right. The E-naira, despite the so much taunted advantages, it also has some disadvantages. One of the disadvantages is that now the central bank is is on the home turf of commercial banks. Commercial banks before now were the ones that interacted with the customers directly. Now central bank does that directly. So central bank may take away people, clients or customers from commercial banks. So that's one downside. And if it takes away those people from commercial banks will be limited. They will have less access to funds, maybe for them to loan or for them to make money from. That's one disadvantage of the E-naira. Another disadvantage of the E-naira is that it has this limitation of people being skeptical about the unknown. People are more comfortable going to a bank, doing normal transactions. These are things that people have been doing for ages. And then suddenly you say that you can download this, that, and it's not everybody that is okay with it. And even when you download, I was discussing with somebody who had challenges onboarding on the E-naira, having the wallet. So it's not going to be as seamless as it is being said it has challenges. And even though they are saying that dispensing errors will be there on the E-naira, but we are yet to see that because you're just starting. You can promise the moon for everybody, but when it's time for action, that's when we know if you can actually deliver on your promises.
Okay, so do you think Nigeria is actually ready for the E-naira?
Yes, I think this is the right time for the E-naira. COVID has a lot of downsides. It has brought a lot of problems for us, but it also has accelerated people migrating to the digital economy. And this is actually the right time because people are now less and less about the analog economy, about the traditional economy as we know it. And the digital economy is actually the future. And I think the central bank has started on a good footing, and I think it should continue. Despite the challenges of the E-naira, I think eventually all these things will be overcome.
Okay.
The E-naira is actually the future.
Okay.
Eventually, I think I foresee a world where people will hardly use the physical naira. So it's good that we start this way, and as we keep learning, we keep improving. So I think this is a good time for it. It may seem a bit challenging for the central bank for now, but I think if they keep at it, is actually the right thing to do.
Okay. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari submitted a finance bill to the National Assembly to amend various tax laws in Nigeria. Now, can you share your thoughts on the strategic objectives in that particular bill?
All right. The finance is still a bill. It has not yet become an act. That's for the 2021. For a while now, and I think I need to commend the fiscal authority in Nigeria, is actually the right thing to do. You're supposed to review and amend your finance act on a yearly basis so as to support the budget. They did that in 2019, they did it in 2020, and they're doing it now for 2021. And doing it for 2021 is to support the 2022 budget. And they are amending like 12 laws, 12 tax and fiscal laws, the Capital Gains Tax Act, the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act, the Stamp Duty Act, the Companies Income Tax Act, the Personal Income Tax Act, the Police Force Trust Fund Establishment Act. There are so many laws, 12 of them to be exact, that are meant to be amended. And the reason for amending them is to see if they can show up government revenue. The government revenue compared to expenditure has not been meeting up. So the Minister of Finance or the Fiscal Authority is trying to see how they can actually improve things. And some taxes will go up actually. And that's why some people are complaining that 2022 may not be the best time for business because of increase in taxes. But if you look at our fiscal situation, we have limited fiscal space. The fiscal authority has really been boxed into a corner. So they have to do everything they can to see if they can help the situation. And besides that, there are so many ambiguities in the previous laws. So they want to clarify these things. For example, if you are a digital company, for example, let's say Twitter. I know that's the most popular one because of it takes two to tango actually between the federal government and Twitter. Twitter is banned in Nigeria at present, and the federal government is trying to tax Twitter and Facebook and others. So initially the law establishing Federal Inland Revenue Service did not have any provision for that. So now they want to, if any company, it doesn't have to be physically present, it doesn't have to be resident in Nigeria, as long as the activity, it has activities within Nigeria, and this activity doesn't have to be buying and selling, as long as you can send messages, you can send images, you can do anything online. They feel such a company should be taxed. Even apps, not just sending messages. Okay. If you can download an app from the Play Store, from Google, what is it called? Apple Play Store. Apple Play, or the, what is it called? Those platforms that you can download apps, either on Android phones or on iPhones, they should be taxed. That's what they're saying, right? Okay. And the capital gains tax also is meant to be if you have maybe you own stocks or shares in the company, and then the value the value of such appreciates. So, and you are not investing that money, then it should be taxed, right? And another thing is when the Nigerian Police Force Trust Fund Act was signed into law in 2019, there was no clear provision of who was going to assess the tax, because you're supposed to generate like 0.005% of a company's profit. You're supposed to take it to fund the Nigerian Police Force Trust Fund. So there was no clear provision for the body responsible for that. So now they have made the Federal Inland Revenue Service is responsible for the assessment, for the collection, and for the enforcement of that. And there was also a tussle between the Federal Inland Revenue Service and Revenue Mobilization, Allocation, and Fiscal Commission. And now the federal government is saying this particular Finance Act 2020, Finance Bill, sorry, is not yet an act. It's saying that the federal government is empowering the Federal Inland Revenue Service as a primary body responsible for administration, assessment, collection, enforcement, and accounting of anything, taxes and levies pertaining either to federation, to the federal government, or the agencies of the federal government.
Okay.
So,
now many have actually, criticized some of the provisions of this bill, particularly when it has to do with taxes. Now, from an economic point of view, do you think there's a problem with some of the provisions in the act, in the bill rather?
All right. There's no such thing as a perfect bill. No matter what you do, you still have dissenting voices. And they're actually within their rights. If not for dissenting voices, we don't have to be amending these laws every year. Because they are less perfect, that's why we need to amend them every year. And besides that, there are exigencies. Things happen, and you have to make sure that the laws you have actually adapt to these new changes, to these new things that happen. So some of the problems with the Finance Act, Finance Bill, I keep saying Act, is actually a bill, it has not been signed. 2021 is that it's going to increase taxes. For example, I know before now for downstream and midstream petroleum companies, if you're making exports, they were not being taxed. Now they want to start taxing such. So, and people in those in that industry are not happy that they should be taxed. And before now, as a company, if your turnover was less than 25 million naira in a year, you were exempt from VAT compliance, registration for VAT compliance. All companies, regardless of the industry. Now they're saying that if you are in the upstream, you have to pay. You have to register for VAT compliance. So people are not happy about that. They feel that will stifle the growth of companies in such industries.
Okay, talking about, just before we wrap up, talking about people that are not happy, let's talk about where the bill clarifies what constitutes allowable deductions for lottery and gaming businesses.
All right. They want to start taxing such using company income tax laws. And I think is actually good. Maybe they got a prodding or a nudging from the International Monetary Fund. They have been pushing, the IMF has been pushing that some sinful activities, in quote, sinful activities should be taxed. So lottery, betting, gaming, I think those things should be taxed. I'm not biased, I'm not trying to be judgmental, but I think any activity, whether it's sinful or not, needs to contribute to the economy, to government finances, and such activities should not be exempted. So I think it's a good thing. But another thing is the Fiscal Responsibility Act. People have been raising eyebrows about it because they want to amend it. The provision then was only for capital projects and for human development. And there was a limit. It said 3% of GDP. It should not exceed. But now they want to amend it to make it more flexible. It's at the discretion of the Minister of Finance. And they change it to any activity that has significant national impact. And significant national impact is not properly defined. So it can be anything. If you have a president tomorrow that is so reckless about spending, he can borrow and claim that it's for. So there are so many rooms for abuse.
Okay, thank you so much for coming on Daybreak this morning, and we hope to have you next time. We've been speaking with an economist, Dr. SAMSON Galadima, giving us perspectives on the E-naira and also the Finance Bill 2021.